Welcome back to the Morning Brew with Friends. I'm Dan Mayfield. We got an all-star crew this morning. We got Lieutenant Governor John Sanchez. We got Sheriff Manny. We have Undersheriff Rudy and Paul Gessing, the president of the Rio Grande Foundation. We're just talking about, you said something that I loved just a second ago, we were talking about the correlation between economic development and crime rates. And you guys see that, right?
Yes.
And how does that happen? I mean, you see, is it simply about more affluent neighborhoods have less crime, or is it something deeper than that on your end?
Well, for me, I mean, we're vested with our families here. So I want this to be a safe place for our families, obviously for business. I mean, you want people to feel safe here. I mean, more times than not, we're getting, people are reaching out to us in the business community to how to make it safer. So, you know, they know that there's a correlation between crime and business.
And I think, Dan, to that point, you know, I think poverty is really at the root of all of the issues that we're talking about we have here today. And that's been a problem in New Mexico for, well, since statehood. And so how do we, you know, we're always looking to respond or react to these issues, right? So thank God we have good, strong law enforcement here. But I think that the root of it is how do we, you know, work people out of poverty so that they aren't forced, families aren't forced, in some cases generationally, to continue in that. And it's about empowering and lifting people out. And that's what we're trying to do. And that way, our law enforcement folks can have the opportunity, the resources to do what they have to, versus battling this ongoing, I think, kind of systemic issue that has really hurt New Mexico for a long period of time.
We're 50th in job growth right now. We're 50th in job growth for both small businesses and for businesses over 100 people. We're 48th in job growth for mid-sized businesses. I mean, what do we do? I mean, Paul, you can weigh in on this. Like, how do we go from 50th to even 49th on that?
Well, poverty is both a cause and an effect when it comes to New Mexico's economic issues. Workforce issues, education. I mean, you go down the line, poverty has an impact on everything. And then, of course, businesses looking to move here see high crime rates and they're concerned. So we do have to all work together. We do need to reform New Mexico's economy and think about how we create the jobs and the economic prosperity that hopefully makes for safer streets and safer neighborhoods. And of course, the police forces need to be proactive and working to make our communities safer as well. It's hand in hand, hand in glove.
Right. When we talk about workforce development, I know that you guys have some education initiatives. Social promotion is one. That's facing a real tough fight.
Well, it came out of a committee, and I think it was taken a vote last night in the House, and so it's going to come over. Look, the trend, though, is changing, though. If you look about where New Mexico has come in the last 4 years, you know, we're leading the country in the growth of exports. That's important.
Well, kind of. I mean, exports are so small
no,
that
but
you can't, you know.
But what's the alternative, Dan?
200% of little bit of something.
But the trend is leading towards that. If you look at what's going down, like we talked earlier, what's going down on the southern border, we're seeing great growth down there. And that's just all part of what we're trying to do is reform New Mexico's economy. Look, I think all of us could agree here that the status quo is simply not acceptable, that we continue to do the same things over and over with the same failed results. So whether it be education reform, ending social promotion, you know, closing the achievement gap among Hispanic students. You know, we see that New Mexico Hispanic students are leading the country when it comes to testing on advanced placement courses. That's important. Those are good trends. Let's continue to build on that. We didn't get here overnight. It's not going to happen overnight, but we must continue to work and fight for those reforms, both educationally and in creating good jobs.
And, you know, I'm curious, we were talking about the academy a little bit ago, the Citizens Academy, but when it comes to the actual police academy, you guys have your own, right?
Yes.
I mean, are you guys finding it hard to recruit and retain good officers yourselves?
Not so much. I think these are good methods of recruiting. The Sheriff Citizens Academy, it's a good place. We had a Reserve Academy kickoff last night. So these are good ways. But, you know, we reach out to other places like the university, so probably the Air Force Base and other institutions, but we're not having a hard time recruiting people.
Are you having a hard time finding qualified people?
I would say no. You know, the captain's back there going like this, and I don't know what that means, but I was going to say the people we do have in there are qualified people. We just try to offer them the professional development they need to sustain a good law enforcement department.
And I think it goes to quality of life issues here in New Mexico, right? Families are looking, whether they're here or coming to your department, they want to know that they have good schools, right?
Yes.
The education system is good,
Yes.
that they can find good jobs, that their kids, when they come out of either high school or college, that there's a place for them to say, these are all important things that all of us as family members think. So we're trying to do that at the state level so that every part of our state's economy has kind of a real optimistic look to the future.
Well, one of the things I think, and it's the knock on politicians is that they look at, next election, right? And you have to see this is how things like social promotion, people have not looked at these things in a long-term way. Because I think, Paul, you can probably speak to this, that education initiatives, we can do something today, we're not going to see the benefit for 20 years. Because that 6-year-old who is now seeing the benefits of these improved kindergarten today isn't going to be in the workforce for 15 or 20 years. So how do we basically design and implement long-term strategies?
Well, you don't see the direct impact necessarily immediately, because you're right, it takes a while for that kindergartner to turn into a productive citizen.
Right.
And you have people coming and going, moving out of a given area constantly. So even the effects of that individual kindergartner may be diluted over time. But you do see people, again, back to the businesses, do they see New Mexico, do they see Albuquerque as an attractive place to come and have their families and their kids go to school here? And if you improve the quality, improve the options in the school system, you make it more likely for those business owners and those people. Those are very demanding people. If you're an entrepreneur, small business person looking to set up a business, you're going to have very strong opinions about your child's educational opportunities. And you want to have a good, safe school that's performing well. And if we can get those changes made right now, and Rio Grande Foundation's worked very hard on school choice. We believe in school choice as one of the options that must be embraced in New Mexico. So it's an immediate benefit.
Where are we on school choice? I mean, we're in New Mexico. Just jog my memory.
Well, I like the Rio Grande Foundation believe that school choice should be one. So we have charter schools; they're a component of it. But at the end of the day, I think that the tax dollar should follow the child. So if a parent feels that they want their child to go to a public school, a private school, a school from a religious school, that tax dollar should follow the child. It prevents a kid from being stuck in a failed school. And I think if you looked at a lot of, especially minority families, if given the opportunity to receive a voucher to say, look, you can take your child to any school you want, I think you would see those programs really succeed. It's taken place in other states. In Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, that have one of the worst education systems in the country, when they put a pilot program in for school vouchers, they had great success. Unfortunately, it was canceled. The president didn't support it. I think that's wrong. But to Paul's point, as far as predictability, we as a state have to quit looking at short-term. We have to put in long-term, over-the-horizon policies. And before you know it, as all of us who have kids know that your kid's a kindergartner, before you know it, they're out of college, and it's in overnight. We have to go long-term on how we make New Mexico a better place to live.
And then in your case, is there a correlation between those students who drop out and the people you guys have to arrest?
I don't.
Is there a correlation between that and the people you interact with daily?
Well, I think it comes back to the social economics of the whole situation. Is historically, and you see nationwide, these poverty-stricken areas tend to be the high crime areas, and I don't know if that's a correlation or not, but that's just a statistic.
Well, we could almost predict if a child drops out of school, where they're going to be, and really, it just means lack of opportunity, and a lot of times it does lead to a life of crime. We have to do that. We're starting to see in New Mexico graduation rates increase, and that's good. Again, leading the country in how the graduation rate has increased until every student is graduating high school and prepared to either go to college or enter the workforce. That's what the goal should be here. And we ought to make sure that parents have skin in the game. We always want to blame the education system, but let's make certain parents are the first line of defense in their kids' education, so parents have to be involved with it as well.
Well, last question, how do you do that? How do you bring parents in?
I think it's educating parents as well, knowing that they have a stake in their child's future. The governor has put forward some initiatives that parent portal system, which allows parents to, look at what their kids are doing in school, so that we're using technology. That's one example of how. There's a bill floating around saying that if you don't graduate high school, you can't get your driver's license. There should be some incentive, stick and carrot kind of deal. So these are some of the efforts that we're making, Dan.
All right. We're back in just a couple of seconds on the Morning Brew with Friends with a quick wrap up. And thanks, guys, for having a great conversation this morning. This is awesome.